Oh my God.
Welcome back to Baon To Go. We're ready to fight some foes. We're fighting some Look, he's doing ASMR. Bro, we're not even. Guys, no one touched that mic after. Alright.
Yeah, abstinence, bro. Why are you doing that? I'm just eating corn.
Hello, everyone. Put the mic back. Thank you. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Baon To Go. As he's doing ASMR, as you can tell, we're eating. And this is the month of May, so yay! So you have seen some of us, and some of us are new. So I mean, you probably have seen them during our Vespers worship that you guys have seen in our YouTube channel. But we'll go around, okay, saying our names, and then we're going to introduce ourselves by our names, and also what is your least favorite food, okay? Yes, so you go.
My name's Isa, and I really don't like.
She said your favorite food.
No, least
favorite.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Least favorite.
I don't know. I really don't like. I'm sorry, Teri. Corn.
That's out. Oh, my heart.
Yeah, she's not phobic.
Okay.
I love food.
Okay, hi.
Like, I don't know.
I'm Louien. I hate okra. Okra
Okay.
is
I
disgusting.
should have said that.
Okra is disgusting, guys.
Okra is good for you. It's the mucilage.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Mucilage. Mucus.
mucus.
All right.
For purposes of identification, I will be Madre, so you can call me Madre.
Okay.
My least favorite food is mushrooms, only because they can kill me.
Oh.
Anaphylaxis.
Correct.
We're in nursing school.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys should know this. So if I eat the mushrooms, I will die.
Okay.
Make sure there are some around you.
My name is Damion, and my least favorite food. I like all food, but I guess I'm palaya.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
high
know.
up there for me.
Yeah. Okay. You guys already know me. I'm Teri, and my least favorite food. Oh, now I gotta think. No, it's okay. Peppers. I don't like peppers. Probably because I don't like spice, but yeah, I don't like peppers.
My name is Deana, and I don't like papaya.
What?
What kind of island girl?
Your own brother.
What kind of island girl don't like papaya?
All right.
What? I don't even know what
So
papaya is.
since everyone has introduced ourselves, we do have a live audience with us, so they can also join in if they would like. So yeah, thank you, live audience.
And you, viewer, could even be here when we record live if you're here at the next session. So be sure to show up so you can interrupt us if we say anything you don't like.
Yes.
That's known
Write
as the
it in the comments.
heckling corner.
All right. So since we are in the month of May, so everybody knows there's a lot of holidays, but one of the significant holidays is Mother's Day. Okay, well, it is Mother's Day. I know we had May the 4th and Cinco de Mayo, but Mother's Day is really the one we're going to be focusing on. So for anyone that wants to talk about it, it could be anyone. You don't have to, ask permission. So do you think Mother's Day is an important holiday for us to celebrate, yes or no, and why?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have no choice but to say yes, don't you?
I think obviously yes, because everyone has a mother. It doesn't matter who you are.
That is
Everyone has a
true.
mother, or at least like some sort of maternal figure in your life, I would hope. And it's important to celebrate people that are important like that, like role models in your life, especially your mom. I am in no way obliged to say any of this for
Your
this
mom's right
episode,
next to you.
but I think Mother's Day is very important.
Thank you, my son.
I feel like, oh no, go say something, please. Oh my goodness gracious.
I was here for the comment section with Louien,
Yeah.
but I think Mother's Day became a holiday just after, I think it was only in the early 1900s where they decided, oh, we should dedicate a day to acknowledging our mothers and maternal figures, because they just worked without gratification, no end. There are so many instances where people don't have positive mothers in their lives, or they lose their mothers. So anybody who can be a maternal figure and a positive role model to you, if it's your teacher, if it's an auntie, if it's a grandma, they still need to be acknowledged.
Completely agree. No, I was actually going to call Deana because I know Deana has talked to us a fair bit about missing her mother. So
Yeah.
do you have anything to share about your mom?
Like probably every other day, but she's currently in the Philippines.
Oh, she's living her best life.
I know.
Yeah, she
Mama
is,
needs a break.
actually.
She's taking Mother's Day for herself.
She posts about it a lot, and I wish she didn't, because I see them on like the lake and they're eating ice cream on the river, and I'm like, man, that could have been me. That could have been me, but she's having fun. I'm glad she's having fun because she deserves it. After the stress that we bring her,
Real.
she deserves it.
Isa?
It's just like when I was younger, I used to be very sick. I had like this thing called aplastic anemia.
I know
And
what
then-
that is.
Yeah.
And
Pancytopenia.
like they had to put like a port in my chest and near my like stomach. And then like I remember my mom, she told me she was praying for me. She was like, Lord, if it's your will, let it be done. And then like I got healed. So I'm
Let's
really
go.
thankful for my mom for praying for me.
I don't know about everyone else, but my mom, at least for me, I was not always the best kid growing up, but my mom, well, I mean, I'm here now, thank goodness, but it took a lot to get me to where I am, and my mom was, yeah, say something.
I was just going to say it took chinelas or the wooden spoon.
Well, it took both for me. So.
Or the belt.
And cinturon, yeah, I was about to say, yeah, belt.
Sometimes
Walis-
applies water.
Walis ting
Yeah.
ting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
waterboarding.
You know what that is?
Yeah, waterboarding, Chinese water torture. She did everything on me, but it got me.
Well, you're grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful because, I mean, as much as we complain about our parents, and I mean, I'm sure people do. Like, sorry guys, but you can't lie. I know people have their issues with their parents, but I feel like the older
Not
I
me,
get,
of course.
yeah, not you, of course.
Of course.
Never anything to complain about your mother who's sitting right next to you. Again. But I don't know. The older you get, the more I start to realize everything that my mom did for me was for my own good. And to be honest, my mom was my biggest inspiration for becoming a nurse because
Wow.
no,
That's the
stop.
dream.
It's corny. Yeah, I know.
That's the dream.
It's
That's what every
it's the
mom wants to
Filipino
hear.
dream. I know.
Yes, it is.
But it took a while, and I'm glad that my mom never gave up because there were times when I wanted to give up on myself, but my mom always stayed. So I'm very grateful for her.
I think it's easy, especially for like us at the age that we're at. All of our moms are still here.
Yeah.
It's easy to like take for granted the time you have with your mom
Yeah.
because like some of my friends and a lot of older people in my life don't have their moms anymore,
Yeah.
and some of them regret not spending time with them. So it's easy to overlook like, oh yeah, I live at home with my parents. My mom will always be there. But the older you get, the more you realize that's not the case. So.
I realize that now with my parents being gone and having to hold down the fort. I'm like, man, I really wish my mom was here.
Yeah. So
Or, like,
you notice.
I'm sitting there like stressing like dishes and chore work, and I'm like, man, I wish my mom was here to at least like be there, because finals was happening and then they were gonna be gone. And I was like, man, the one support I'm like I rely on, like who's there every morning, is like 9,000 miles away. Yeah, I think one time after I had a really bad like episode thing, like where like I just like wasn't okay, and I woke up the next morning, I had to go to my 8 a.m. chemistry lecture, even though I don't want to, and she was like, I have this water bottle for you, and she made this.
The one that you made. Oh yeah, show the camera.
Yeah, it's kind of fading, but she made it after like I literally was like sobbing. I was like, I don't feel okay, and then she made this for me the next morning, and I'm like,
Intuition stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, mom
Yeah.
sense.
No.
Mom
Moms
sense.
know.
Mom sense is crazy.
Yeah, 9,000 miles away. She knows I'm not feeling okay all the way over here. She texts me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "How do you know?"
Yeah, mom sense is one of the strongest like instincts in the planet.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea how it works.
You're literally attached physically.
Yeah,
Actually,
you've been like, okay, I was about to say something out of pocket.
So if ever I feel like I'm wiretapped by someone, it's my mom.
You've been inside, yeah, like their
In the
stomach.
womb.
Yeah.
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 That's how birth
Enough, Issa.
happens.
I like that word.
You are literally not closer to anyone ever in your entire
Except your
life.
mother, yeah.
Literally.
Literally. There
is
is no
true.
other. And I'll say this, I don't want to bring like a somber topic to it, but piggybacking kind of off what Damion said, he's right, we're still at the age where all of our mothers are still around, but, time doesn't stop. Sadly we all get older, and I've realized the older we get, bad things happen to your parents. They start to get sick, things don't always pan out the way that you want them to go. So, really, I think, Mother's Day is supposed to remind us of how good we have it right now. Because, to be honest, I mean, I'm only 21, but I can't imagine, like, a life without my mother. And the more I think about the future, which is why I try hard not to, it's hard to imagine a place, you know, where she's not around anymore. So, for as long as she's around right now, for anyone, you know, for however long we have our parents, appreciate them to their fullest extent, because who knows how long you'll have them.
I can appreciate my mother from a distance. My mother is living her best life.
I like your mom.
A lot of people like my mom. A lot of people know my mom, and she's kind of extremely extroverted, life of the party kind of lady. She dresses to impress the Lord.
Real.
Because that's the only man in her life right now is Jesus Christ.
Amen.
But all that being said, I love her very much, but I cannot, as an adult, live with her anymore. I moved out when I was 19 because I had to figure things out. Being a young mother at that time, yes,
me.
Damion pointing
Shout out to me.
Yes, but then I had a point in my life where I had to move back with my mother, and I only lasted about 5 months.
Oh, wow.
I love her, but we just have different housekeeping styles. And I'm not going to throw her under the bus, even though she would fit nicely. She's definitely the definition of live your best life, because she goes out there and she does whatever. She rode a camel earlier this year. She climbed Mount Sinai, and she's 75 years old and with arthritis and everything. And she still, you know, likes to wear her heels, likes to go shopping. She, like, does her hair and makeup, and she even asked me, like, how to Photoshop her double chin out of a picture one time.
She's more energetic than most of us
She
that you
is
see
more
on the podcast.
energetic, and I don't know how. She takes very good care of herself, and I aspire to be that fabulous when I get to be that old. If God willing, I will get that old. But maybe as you all get older, you'll find out that maybe you can't live with your parents either, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be in the same house. I think as long as there's a mutual respect for each other, it could be done. Now, would I myself like for my child to spend more time at my home? Yes. But I have to realize...
Who could she be talking about?
I have to
I got
realize
no
that
idea about that one.
he's got to figure out his own thing, and technically he's an adult by American standards, so I've got to leave it alone. By Filipino standards, you're not really married. You're not an adult till you're married with kids.
Yeah, that's true. So I've heard. So I've heard.
So I've heard too, and so I've been told, and so I've witnessed.
Yeah.
As I am a victim of.
Well, there you go.
If you can, save your money and stay home as long as you can.
Oh, don't worry about that, man.
Yeah.
I got that covered.
We got
I think if there's anything that we all that we all know here, it's that we can't live without our moms.
And we need money.
Yeah, and we're all
We
broke.
need money.
Save money. Save money. That's probably
Yeah.
normal.
At my house, we're like the same. We're more traditional, I would say, with like, you know, staying at home. Because, I mean, yeah, my mom does understand. She did go to the Philippines after she graduated, right, to, you know, become a nurse. But now that she's here and she has 4 kids, it's a lot more than her siblings. So she understands the struggles. So, okay,
Real.
he has ASMR. But,
We're supposed
yeah,
to
so
be
like
eating.
traditionally at our house, they don't like us to go out, which I understand, but they
Also,
still.
you're girls.
Yeah, we're also girls. We're all girls.
Okay, guys, I'm a guy and I still don't leave my house, by the way. I see this dude like
my
every day,
dad's
but
more
that's it.
strict, but my
Stays outside.
mom understands like the reason why. And yeah, I feel bad for my mom sometimes because she does work a lot. Before she became an NP, she did 2 jobs for nursing and stuff.
I don't know how she was, pregnant and going to school.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
doing
real.
BBS
Yeah.
and doing, Thank you, Teri's mom.
Can't imagine
for
being
this.
pregnant in the first place.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't imagine being pregnant in the first place, but I'm just saying, you're going through all kinds of hormonal,
Yeah.
physical things, emotional things.
Yeah, we're teenagers.
All I'm saying is that if I have to take care of myself, no,
Yeah, Mom-
absolutely not. I
Yeah.
can't do that.
It's hard
Why
enough to
I
take
have
care
the
of.
bags under my eyes, so,
I can't even notice them, madre.
I'm still recovering from that. Why, thank you. So kind.
It's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a different thing. I think you appreciate your mom more when you become mothers, you girls that are sitting here, and boys when you see your future wives giving birth, or if you get to watch a birth at the hospital.
Oh man.
I've been watched.
Then you've been watching, so you will appreciate your wives, your mothers, etc. You'll appreciate them on a much deeper level, just seeing the physical aspect of what their bodies have to do.
It's hard.
It is
Very,
hard.
yeah.
And I guess, I don't know. I guess I can talk about it because Damie's here. Anyway, his birthing story was...
Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
I love this story.
So, he was born on the Sabbath. That's a sign. He was so polite, he waited until after church to be born.
Were you in labor during church?
I woke up that Sabbath, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling too good. Like, my back's hurting. Like, maybe I'll just stay home that morning. Turns out I was in labor. And by the time we got to the hospital, I was already 9 centimeters out of 10.
Oh my goodness.
And I was 36 weeks and some, so it was right around that.
Yeah.
But Damion waited until after church, so about 2:30 or so,
Thanks, Damien.
to make his debut.
I gotta make sure everyone's there.
Real.
He did.
I wanna
Everybody was
interrupt.
there, right? I mean, your father was there. The pastor came afterwards. I mean, your grandparents were there.
Pastor wouldn't be there if I didn't wait.
The only delay, of course, the only issue that we had was that Damien's head was quite big.
Still is.
Still is.
Still
yeah.
I was about to say.
I mean, you guys can say that. I won't.
It's okay. I said it.
They had to get a special tool, not clamps or anything like that.
The baby grabber.
Not the baby
The
grabber.
Israel clamps.
They had to get something they called, at the time they called it a kiwi slide. Some kind of slide thing that guided his big old head out.
Editor, put up a picture of the slide. Let's make it more work for them.
Right?
It might be me.
So, after maybe only 20 minutes of pushing, there was the child. Behold, born on the Sabbath.
Easy, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
What?
And no time for an IV, no time for nothing. Doctor came in and asked me if I wanted anything. I said ice cream.
You didn't have an epidural or anything?
Ain't no time for that, sir.
20 minutes.
My goodness gracious.
Remember, I arrived to the hospital. I was already 9 out of 10.
At this
I
point
was ready to go.
in the podcast, I probably would have been born already. If we started
Oh
at the
yeah.
beginning.
If she had started, if she had went to the hospital when we started, you would have already been out.
Yes. I mean,
That's
he
crazy.
Yeah.
almost fell out, really. He was ready to go. So, also, I had
That big
gestational diabetes with this one because...
I know about that. We learned about that in nursing school.
Exactly.
Okay.
Even backtracking further, I used to be vegetarian, right? I was vegetarian up until maybe
Lisa,
6,
can I have
7
one?
months into the pregnancy, and then this child craved meat, so I went back to eating meat. Insert a picture of a steak right here.
Yeah, look at him, dude. I don't think. I'm sorry. Damien can never be vegetarian
No,
in his
absolutely
entire
not.
life. Absolutely not. Yeah.
Someone asked me one time, would I ever be vegetarian or vegan? I just told them, look at who I am,
Yeah.
and ask me that question again, like, seriously.
Yeah, my
I
mom
don't think I could,
asked
yeah.
if he was vegetarian. Are you insane?
No, you can tell your mom.
Yeah.
Hi, Auntie. Tell her that I became a meat eater again because he wanted meat.
My desire for meat was so strong that I converted someone else to start eating meat again.
That's getting quoted.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it should.
That's too much of a long, complicated quote. But after the labor situation, I think I asked my sister, or I asked my cousin.
She's a little off
So
camera.
I was, what is it?
She was texting everybody.
Texting everyone. You can see on the text message. Oh, she's pushing.
She was texting, pushing.
They got a live
He's out.
report of all the events.
Just, yeah. Yes.
That's like Dana's job. She's scribing.
And then I wanted a Big Mac afterwards. Which
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
got her one.
As long as
don't
you
deny a
got
pregnant
it.
woman
Yeah,
what she
you don't.
wants.
You don't.
Damien one hand and a
Damien one hand and a burger in
That
the
sounds
other
about
hand.
right.
That sounds so.
I mean, you talk to your moms about their labor stories.
My mom's is horrible.
I know mine.
I'm saying, and just take a moment to appreciate the physical aspect of them giving birth. It doesn't matter if it was natural, if it was a C-section, if it was an emergency, if it was over the toilet, whatever the story it's amazing what God has already put in place into our bodies that they know what to do automatically
Amen.
without us having to push things.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Lisa, you don't.
I'm not listening to y'all. Like, your
That's
words
right.
are being blocked out.
Let her dream her dream. Okay, she always adopt. Okay,
There's
one
like
of you guys are carrying.
There's like the physical aspect of birth that we talk about, but there's also like the emotional aspect afterward. Because I know
Yeah.
that after my mom had me and my brother, there was some medical issues happening, and she
Yeah.
couldn't like. The toll of it was so much like she couldn't like look at us because I was born early, so like they had like the tubes and stuff in me, like make sure I could breathe. My mom always talks about she's like she couldn't look at me, and like it's so hard to see like your first child like
Yeah.
struggling
Yeah.
when they haven't even like
Yeah.
they don't even know what the world is yet.
Yeah.
And like mothers, they have the tendency to want to protect their children no matter what. And
And it's
you
difficult,
appreciate
yeah.
more their protection as you grow up.
Yeah. Well, so I've noticed.
Yeah.
It is. It is difficult. It's difficult physically, emotionally, again, financially. Don't be.
That is
man.
true.
I can barely afford myself.
No need to tell us.
I think we're all already aware.
I think we're all on the same page on that.
Barely afford
I was like,
ourselves,
yeah.
much less another life.
Oh my goodness. I mean, okay.
I get scared when I have to go to the hospital.
Seriously.
Wait, how old are you, Terry?
I'm 20, turning
How old are
21.
you, Dana?
I'm turning 20.
How old are you?
17.
17. Okay. I was 18, turning 19 when I had Damie. I was a senior in high school. And just imagine all that drama at that point, having to go to school every day. Like, you guys have seen the movie Juno? It's kind of old.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, that was totally me.
girl with the blonde hair.
I graduated high school before I was born.
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, that's true,
I mean,
actually.
technically, he went to a couple dances. He was in a play. He did all kinds
I was a
of...
prop in a play.
He was a prop. We did Into the Woods, and as you know, if you know the movie, the story, the baker's wife is pregnant
Yeah.
Yes,
in the play, and
that's how
So it's like the loaf of bread in the oven.
I literally
The bun in the
read
oven.
The bun in the oven.
And people thought it was a prop belly because I was in drama. It's real.
I mean, you don't gotta tell them.
Yeah, of course.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know. I mean, after spring break, I was like, I'm gonna stay home because I don't want to be having this baby at school.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, so I'm not gonna advocate for like teen pregnancy or anything or
Real.
early parenthood because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Even in the best of circumstances and even with parents with the best intentions and grandparents with the best intentions, it's a lot for kids to take on. And I wouldn't have been able to go to school, finish school, do all that stuff if it wasn't for the support of my own mother and my parents and Damie's grandparents, of course. But it's not easy.
Yeah.
Would not recommend. 10 out of 10. Would not recommend. Would not recommend. Now, one day, would I love to take care of Damie's kids? Yes, of course. We have this deal. He is
Oh,
my-
that's not
One day,
happen
way,
for-
way,
yeah,
way in the future.
way
Way
in the future. Yeah,
way
let's talk
in the
about
future.
in the future.
When that happens, yeah.
Way in the future.
Because I'm not even 40 yet, but I'm already like, oh, I'm going to play with some little babies once in a while and then give them back to their parents.
Don't worry, I got you.
I'm back.
When's next?
No, I'm joking,
He's
obviously.
joking because he's going to finish school first.
Yeah.
I finish school next year, madre.
But that doesn't mean you're ready to have a child.
No, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I can barely take care of myself.
Maybe
I
you
was
should start
joking.
with like a fish.
A dog.
I have a kid already. That's
Yeah.
a good segue into our next topic, actually.
yes.
You know, I've noticed, well, besides these two, all three of us are oldest siblings. Yeah. So, I mean,
Oh yes,
There's
wonderful
definitely-
segue into our next topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a great segue.
Y'all don't know about my brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's something to it.
Yeah, there is.
Age order,
I agree.
psychologically.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, seriously.
I'm an older sibling too. My
Okay.
younger sibling is over there.
Let's go,
And
Damion.
we're about 23 months apart.
That's not bad.
But
yeah.
there's a lot of psychological baggage.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So being an elder sibling means you're probably very responsible, a people pleaser. You listen to authority.
What could you be talking about, guys?
I'm talking about all of you.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about myself. You're very eager to please. And you like praise and recognition from adults or authority figures. You want the gold star. You want the A's. You want the principal's list. Okay? And yes, I'm coming for you because it's true.
Y'all getting
It is
targeted
true.
It is true.
It is true.
Yes.
I'll say, I mean, when you were saying, you know, like, we're not ready for kids, I completely agree 100%. But as an older sibling, I'm not gonna lie, at times it feels like, well, there's only two of us. It's just me and my younger brother. But especially when I was younger, I've noticed the younger siblings get coddled a lot more
Oh, yeah.
than the older siblings. Like,
Big time.
yeah, because I'll say it right now. My little brother is 15, turning 16.
He has a lot more freedom than you did at 15, turning 16.
Well, there's that, and also, okay, I'll be honest, and don't call like CPS on my parents, but
I'm a
from
mandated reporter. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's nothing bad. No, it's kind of bad. So from when we were kids, my parents. I mean, you're not supposed to leave kids alone at home, guys. But my parents both work night shift because they both work in the hospital. And it was always before they would try to schedule their shifts so that one person would always be home. But I think it was the second I turned like 9 or 10, I can't remember exactly which age, immediately they stopped. Like they were like, "Oh, you're old enough now to take care of your brother."
Yeah.
They were like, "Just take care of him." I did, and I ended up, having to raise him for 12 hours a day because, nighttime they're not there. But again, I'll say it right now, he's turning 16, my brother. Up until now, my parents still have a hard time leaving him alone at home. As a 16-year-old kid, I was like, you start to wonder, like, at what age do they think, like, he should become independent? Because for me, they pushed...
It was 9.
Yeah, it was 9. They pushed me very hard when I was younger to become, like, grown up. Like, they did everything they could to try to get me to take some sort of leadership role in our family. Because as a guy, too, I will say, and as the only guy from our family who lives in America, the rest of my relatives live in the Philippines, so they've always looked towards me for, I don't know, everything. I'm like I'm like the model like cousin for
model minority stories.
Yeah, model minority story. I know, it's so much fun, but they ask a lot from my family, and I know that the second I turn older, that responsibility will shift towards me when I start to phase into adulthood and really start to grow up. So it becomes a good balance of knowing I'm still learning versus I have to do this, I have to do that. Like, I need to be able to gauge my responsibility. Because I'll say it again, I'm 21, but I'm not an adult.
Sure.
I'll admit that. Like, there's many things that I still need to learn, and this is one of them.
I think that you're right as far as your parents turn to you and depend on you to help. Your part in the family, your role in the family, if the parent's job is to work and make money, etc., your job at 9 years old, 10 years old, however old you were, was to take care of your little brother. Did you have any say in it? No, but they're like, we're providing, we're going to make it work. The differential is too good. I think back in the day it was like 30%. I would go for that.
It's like 50% now,
That's
if I recall
insane.
correctly. Yeah, I know. No, I agree.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on a kid, but maybe you guys were in a good neighborhood where you could do that. I mean, technically by DCF, there's no quote-unquote age where you can leave your kid alone.
That's true.
I'm a mandated.
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah.
familiar with
Up to your
DCF.
discretion for the
It's
most
up to your
part.
discretion, but I believe that my child was walking home from school at 12 and
Who
would
could she be talking about?
would be going home by himself. But it was like maybe a mile and a half. I don't know how far he had to walk. It wasn't that far. Also, there's that thing you said about being a boy. Very different than for the girls, I think, especially older sibling girls. We have a different kind of mentality and a different set of expectations put on us, more like probably house chores and motherly duties and all that stuff. And then the younger siblings, they get trickled down to, menial activities. They're just, peons. In the pecking order.
It's true, though.
No,
Yeah.
it is true, though. In
Yeah.
the pecking order, the level of responsibility you put on the first kid is going to be
Much higher.
much higher, significantly higher stakes even than for the younger siblings. Absolutely. I don't know why it is, but it is. And then add the aspect of minority on top of it, immigrant family, being people of color, quote unquote foreigners. With our faces, we're always going to be considered foreigners, even though we're all American here. That hyphen, that space in between Asian American, Filipino American, that space always lends itself to you're not from here or you look different. Even though we're American, somebody listening would know, but if you look at us, we all got this face.
Made in America
With Filipino parts.
Yes. Teri loves that shirt.
Put up a picture of that sweater. That's the best sweater we've ever seen in our life.
Do you see that picture? That's my high school. Oh my gosh, I'm looking.
It's so good.
Picture of
Hold the
Teri.
picture.
Put up the picture of Teri in the Made in America with Filipino. I'll show you. I have it saved.
Listen, I was really.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
Production says he likes that too.
You guys are like making fun of me. I'm proud of my hair.
So are we. We love that sweater. We need that sweater for
It
ourselves.
is an actual wonderful segue into another topic that I suggested to you, which May is
Well, hold
Asian
on.
American
One second.
Islander
Oh, wait.
Heritage Month.
As a male-only child,
Oh, here he goes.
obviously my experience is much different from any other eldest sibling, even youngest sibling. You still have all of the responsibility and all of the learning, but you're also very spoiled. Me especially, because
Oh, here we go.
you're
The
the
two
only
only
child.
kids.
And for me, I
Well,
was the
Issa
only
was
grandchild
sickly,
for a
yes.
long
Yeah.
time. So
You were
support
the-
from both sides,
you were the
but I
first
still have to figure
grandson.
everything out.
You were the first grandson on both sides.
It's
And-
definitely not easy, and sometimes
Yeah.
it does get lonely, but
For real.
it's nice in ways because
Look
you
at
get to
Teri.
pick your family effectively.
Oh my gosh.
Like your friends effectively become your siblings. Like
Basically.
everyone here at this table, besides my mom, I would say is like a sibling to me. Plus a
Amen.
couple others over there.
Lionel,
And
other brother.
yeah,
And Caleb, your Hispanic brother.
you work out like how your social dynamic is with everyone else. It's a very different experience from every siblingship.
What is interesting too, though, is that the dynamic goes further than just your own family, your friend group, because you're friends with somebody who's the youngest sibling
Oh
in
yeah.
a set of 4.
Oh yeah.
So that
Your reach
It's
as an
another
only child
dynamic.
goes everywhere. Eldest siblings, youngest siblings.
I will say too, only because I can only talk about myself. Let me I'm married to somebody who's the younger of 2 brothers, and I'm the oldest of 2 sisters. So I'm used to bossing somebody around. Sorry, sister. I'm used to bossing somebody around, and he's used to receiving orders, so it works. There's a psychological dynamic there too.
So what you're saying is, if you're the older sibling, to marry a younger sibling.
Or vice versa.
I'm not going to tell you who to marry.
No, but like
there's,
you-
there's a psychological
psychological,
dynamic.
yeah.
There's a psychological dynamic there that, for whatever reason, in pecking order, whatever, it works.
And if you're an only child, you get to choose.
Yeah, get to choose
I'm
whoever
so
you want,
real
guys.
for that
Yeah, see,
The
yeah.
problem is because only children are so spoiled. You got to find somebody who's either going to give you what you want and spoil you, or somebody who's going to yield to you, or somebody who's going to stand up to your face and be like, "No, this is how we're going to do it."
Absolutely.
I like that
All
one.
of those
I
are
like
true.
that one.
All of those are true.
Yeah. Sorry, but Issa, you have to find that partner who wants 4 kids too.
Yeah, that's true.
Dang, Issa, no, that's crazy. Hey, good luck, Issa.
It's going to be a good.
I have nothing to say.
Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, referring to like Mother's Day, well, for me personally, like Mother's Day Asian, because y'all made fun of me with my.
Teri, we're all Filipino
also
here, by the
Asian.
way. We're all also Asian.
I know. And also, being the oldest of 3. Yes, my mother had 4 children. Issa, I'm telling you right now. As a
No, you guys.
Sisters.
You talk to my mom about that. Okay, so my mom was also the oldest of 2. She had 2 younger brothers, and that's probably where I got my, eldest like responsibilities from her, because she also was the ambitious person, the one, the overachiever, the one that does this.
Sure.
She's the one who was pregnant, had Jenna, did NP, also did a part-time, so she did everything. So
She did the most.
She really
actually.
did the most. So really, she's really like the eldest, and she really carries it. And also like in a Filipino household, like with Louien, like at a young age, you have to grow up, and I mean, you literally do. It's not just like, oh, you do chores and stuff. It's like you have other people to take care
Like
of.
another life, like
Yeah, another life. And it's like your parents, they do provide you, but at the same time, they have their own thing
Yeah, to
to take care of. And like that's why they depend on the oldest so much. That's why I was also not the greatest child at all, because
Amen. I'm joking.
my parents, every time I do something mischievous, especially at church,
You get it the most.
Dang, Terry.
I'm telling you right now.
Teri's up to
Thesaurus.
mischief.
I'm telling you right now, like the person I am, like if it wasn't for my parents and my mom especially, I wouldn't be the same person as I am right now. But at church, whenever like I'm sorry, but back at like Officer McNeil, when we don't want to listen to the sermon, we would go.
Oh yeah, I need to start running around the church. Yeah.
Hide. I'm sorry, this is really bad, but don't do that. Whoever's watching, don't do that. But my parents found out because I lied. I said, "Oh, I'm going to the bathroom." I didn't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and then you're gone for like an hour
Went
and
to
a
the
half.
bathroom for like an hour and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
I was with my friends, and my parents also noticed that my siblings were copying me. And at a young age, they don't know who else to look up to but the oldest, right? So every time, like, they always, like, they punish me, obviously, the Filipino way,
Real.
as you can imagine.
Cinturon. Yeah.
But,
They could just look at you and you feel the disappointment.
oh,
You
no,
get pinched. No, you get pinched.
You get that
Yeah.
corot that's
Yeah,
like,
no.
I can't say anything because I'm in church. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they would punish me, and they always said this all the time. Till this day, they're like, you're the oldest.
Yes.
You are the example of this family.
Oh my
Whatever.
I can't even. Oh, there's so many times I've heard that. Oh my goodness.
And
I can hear
once you walk out of that house, you're representing the whole family as
Yeah.
well. You're representing. So yes, a lot of pressure
Dishonor
is
on you.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Dishonor on your cow.
You bring shame to our family.
Right.
And that's like a legit quote from my mother. I'm not even making it up. She's legit said that to me before.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Auntie, did you really say that?
Yes, she did. And she's watching.
Respond in the comments down below.
It's real.
Give us that
She
audience
said that to
interaction
me
that we so
before.
I
crave.
want to know what you did to get that kind of comment. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure that's a like Asian culture because I know we have that in common, like with the dishonoring and stuff like that, which is not always good, but
It just comes down to cultural
yeah, it does.
differences, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, only child, but you still have that like sense of, oh, you represent your family, especially being, well, I mean, I can only speak as the first grandchild of both sides because I
Yeah.
am. You still have all that pressure, but you
Yeah,
also
yeah.
have the leniency of like, oh, you're still like young. You don't really like. Nobody expects you to know what you're doing all the time.
I feel like also as an only child, like you're very protected because you're the only one. And
Absolutely.
when I
They care
decided to
about you.
like, I want to go out more, I want to do this, I want to start being independent. They're like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, because they're scared. Like they really want to protect you.
I think that comes down to individual families because I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah, it does
I got
depend
like
too on parenting
way
style.
out there, but there's still like the safety net of
I'm
like
gonna
you're
find
the
the
only
picture,
child.
but I do have a picture of the two of you when you were both bald babies.
Who, these two?
Yes.
You gotta show me that
Editor,
picture.
put the picture on.
Well,
There
I
it
think your dad
is.
was holding you because you couldn't walk yet, but you were bald, and your dad's holding you like this, like to the side, and Damien was standing up.
Okay, for my first birthday, I saw Damien. Someone was carrying Damien at my first birthday and stuff like. And I don't know, it was funny because he was there.
Okay.
That makes too much sense, but I think that there's different. I agree with you with what you said, especially because for you specifically, you're the first and only child. You're a girl, and you had medical situations that they had to be super careful. I'm sure you understand now, as you're older, why they did those things. I mean, I'm not saying that if there was more kids after you, they'd be like, okay, you can go play and do whatever, and they can't go. Like, I don't think it would be that.
Yeah.
I think they made those rules for you for a reason, and I think you're old enough now to understand why.
Yeah.
But I think that the responsibility of only children, I think there is another added pressure to it, another layer of added invisible pressure, because you are the only kid, because you are my retirement plan son.
There you go.
Your retirement is guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's still time. So
Yeah. The other thing is too, like, for both oldest siblings and only child, your parents are still figuring out what to do also.
yeah,
So everyone has to figure out the system of what works for them.
but uncap it.
I think you're right.
It'll melt.
I think it also speaks to the parents' ages. I can only say that because I was super young and trying to figure things out. But I think that there was a lot of things that we could do with you that maybe other parents couldn't because of the age or their availability or their energy level or whatever the case may be.
And another factor that plays into raising a child, which is a wonderful segue to our next topic, is culture.
Ooh.
How
Specifically, our
as a culture do you raise a child? And I'm sure Filipinos have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, for
but
Asian American Pacific.
Pacific
Islander
Islanders.
heritage.
Just mine. I definitely
So
remembered what the
topical.
acronym meant. I remembered
You
for
remember
sure.
because it's happy appy.
Oh my goodness gracious.
AAPI. Happy
AAPI.
happy month.
You're so smart, mother.
Sometimes.
Okay.
I'm the only Asian person at my job. Okay?
I can't say the same for myself.
I'm not in the medical field. I work in, maybe I shouldn't say, but I work in early childhood education. And a lot of times I'm probably the first Asian person that some of these kids see.
Why are you brown?
I'm telling you, that's what it is. And I will tell you the truth. One day I had a girl ask me on the playground if my hair was a wig because that's something normal in her culture is women wearing wigs. And I said, no, this is my hair. And she said, it's really pretty. It's long and straight and black. And she said, my hair is not like that. I said, but your hair is beautiful. Your hair is like this and mine is like this. And I have to be careful about how I portray that first impression on young children because they may think you
All
know,
of us are
all
like
of
that.
us are like this, or everybody who looks like this, acts like this, is going to be like this, and that's not necessarily the case. Just trying to think of like past experiences. I mean, I grew up with English as a second language. I don't care what anybody says out there. English is not my first language. I've got witnesses.
Same here, ma'am.
I'm saying, and English is hard.
Facts. Oh yeah, no, Teri can attest. Teri can
English is
attest.
hard.
English is hard,
still
isn't
hard.
it, Teri?
And sometimes,
like,
sometimes we can't pronounce things the way that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And sometimes if you
Gnocchi.
are reading things,
Gnocchi.
well, you know, that's not really English. If you're reading things, you know the word from reading it, right?
Yes.
And this happens a lot with my husband, who is identifies as white American, Caucasian, whatever. Not whatever, but with respect, whatever. I will say a word and then ask him to tell me how to say it. And he's like, I grew up speaking English and learning in Florida. So it's like, why do you say this different? I'm trying to think of a silly word like almond. Almond. He says almond.
Almond and almond.
Almond?
Almond.
Almond, too.
Almond milk.
Guys,
Almond.
salmon
Almond.
or salmon?
Salmon.
I say
Salmon.
Salmon.
Don't be weirdy, son.
it's
Don't be
salmon.
It's
weirdy.
pronounced salmon.
It's salmon
The L
in
is
my
in there,
house.
but nobody
Yes.
says.
I didn't know that until I was like
Nobody
13.
says
But does-
salmon.
But does that come from?
I used to say salmon.
Right. Does that come from our English pronunciation? Is it from our Filipino pronunciation?
I mean,
is it from being in Florida and everybody's in the South? And
We might
have
just be
twang?
stupid,
Maybe.
to be honest.
That's what
Maybe a
I'm
little
saying.
bit.
It might be.
But if we all agree to say it the same way, then is it really that stupid?
No.
Almost if you
can't
say
even think of
salmon.
everyone.
We could just say it's part of our culture to say it that way. In which case we say salmon.
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 Shout out to my dad.
Salmon.
Salmon.
Editor, put up a pronunciation of the word salmon.
Look up Merriam-Webster
Oh, Teri and I
and see what they have on the dictionary. Please, editor, pull it up, because I need to know, is it salmon or salmon?
For sure, it's salmon.
It's salmon.
It's not salmon.
I think you're the only person who
legit say
says salmon.
phlebotomist, by the way. Yeah, she was trying to say phlebotomist. She's like
Phlebotomist.
phlebotomist.
Oh yes.
I think that,
Bomb static side eye. Not
static?
bombastic. Bomb static.
Bomb static.
Direct quote from Terry.
never.
I'm just processed, Terry.
First process.
So, talking about AAPI Heritage Month, I think that I can say we're from different generations.
Yes.
Do you see more Asian American portrayals in media?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Nowadays.
Within the
Yeah.
past 3 years alone,
Nowadays,
I think we've had more Asian American representation than ever before.
Okay, which is
I
excellent.
think ever since the biggest one was like Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy
Yeah,
Rich Asians.
Crazy
That
Rich
was
After
Asians.
that,
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, and
all of the media got flooded with Asian culture and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Boba places started showing up, places they have no business
Well,
being.
K-pop-
Modern places.
K-pop became
K-pop
like a
exploded.
whole, like,
Stan New Jeans.
Yeah, New Jeans.
I will say this though about, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but like you mentioned, there is a generation gap. And it feels like, you know, as much as I appreciate like Asian American heritage, like it should be a mixing of our two cultures. But I think a big concern of the older generation, and to be honest, kind of my concern as well, is a lot of people who are born and raised here in America as Asian people start to lose touch with like their roots. Like,
Preserving the tradition.
yeah, it's. I don't want to say like we need to keep everything because obviously there's a place for change. There's like a fusion. That's the reason like it's Asian and American. But when I start seeing people like it's not necessarily a bad thing. But for example, one of the most like prominent examples that comes to my head is even within our church. You know, we're all Filipino. Like I'm sorry, I'm doxing ourselves, but we're all Filipino guys.
I think they already knew that.
I've noticed a lot of people in our church don't know how to speak our language or even understand. Yeah. Which, I mean...
Most of us at this table even.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just... And it's
I have
not
a reason
Yeah,
from my side.
it's not a bad thing.
We don't even
but
need a reason. It's just we
And-
didn't learn.
yeah, it gets lost. And to be honest, to me it's very important to like preserve that tradition within my family,
Yeah.
like specifically. Because for example, like when my parents moved here when we were younger, of course we had to assimilate because, you know, we have to learn English. Like they work in the hospitals, I go to American school, we have to learn English.
Yeah.
But every single time I would go home, English gets cut out. We don't speak English in my house. We speak Tagalog because my parents never wanted me or my brother to forget how to speak it. And I don't know, it just seems like something that a lot of people nowadays take for granted because
It's also, I mean, it comes down to like the generation gap. Like the older people in our generation value like hard traditions. Sorry, Madre, but they value like hard traditions more than like opening it up to, I guess, be more accepting is a way to put it.
Yeah.
And the younger generation is more like get out there and like spread it around, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find a good gray area because everyone's going to disagree on what parts of culture is most important, what's least important, what dances are important, what language are important, stuff like that.
What did you say? He said dances, you said hey hey.
Yeah, no. I agree with those things. I can only speak about myself and my experiences. But my parents immigrated to the United States separately. Point of order, they came to the United States separately. They were both single when they came to the States. My mom came to the United States in 1973 while there was martial law going on in the Philippines. So if you were young and out of school and there was martial law going on in your country, wouldn't you do whatever it takes to get out?
Yeah.
I mean, get out.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. She was in her early 30s. No, younger even. But she ended up in Arkansas. Her first bite of America was Arkansas.
In the middle of nowhere,
In the middle of nowhere. And I remember they were speaking Spanish to her because they thought maybe she was Mexican or something. But she's like, I know that they're speaking English, but I can't understand them.
Yeah.
So this is, knowing this and growing up, you know, I say we, because my sister is here, we grew up with ilungo in the house. We grew up eating Filipino foods. We tried and did traditional Filipino things. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like some traditions are just peer pressure from dead people. There are certain things
You can say
that
that about almost all traditions.
Yeah.
well, there are some things that we don't necessarily need to do.
You have an example?
One thing, well, to the opposite of that, one thing that I will always teach my son and my grandkids one day if I have some, and I even teach exactly.
Oh, mano.
Mano po.
Yeah.
Why is this important?
Respect to your elders.
It's respect, and respect to our elders. Not only is this such an important part of Asian culture, Filipinos are known around the world for being respectful of their elders and friendly. You show respect. Asian culture is like that. Filipino culture more so. If somebody's older than you, you have to address them ate, kuya, whatever.
Yeah.
Older people in the house, you have to mano. So I taught he was my fiance at the time, my boyfriend, whatever. Not whatever, I'm sorry. With the most respect.
Yeah.
Let me clarify. So I taught him about this and he thought it was really cool. Something really different. So his nephew came with us to a family party. And he taught his nephew, the first thing you do when you get in the house is you take off your shoes. Why? To show respect to the house. You're not going to trample all over their nice floor and everything. And you go to the elder people in the house and you do manopo. You have to ask for their blessing and you greet them. And this, to me, is one of those things that, I will always keep that as part of the family. Now, the traditions that I don't necessarily agree with are more like superstitions, like not letting a pregnant lady stand under a mango tree. Like
I've never heard that. I've never heard
Because the mangoes will suck the life force of the baby out of the pregnant woman.
Yes. There are certain uncles and aunties out there that I don't even know if they're watching the YouTube, but they would say this.
One of my favorite ones is if you go to sleep with your hair wet, you'll go blind.
Okay.
Or sick.
Or you'll get sick, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a science behind that.
There is truth to that.
There's truth to that only because if your hair gets wet, think about this. You're going to sleep on your pillow with your hair wet. You can build up mold. Okay.
The most spores will get in the eyes.
Okay, see, you're having an aha moment right there. I was like, you guys are so much.
Guys, I might already be blind. Wait, I don't know.
Maybe
That's a little more
valid than we thought.
Yeah, I clean my pillowcase terribly.
Just wash your stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as why are these traditions important? why, I mean, that tradition, even the term itself, mano, this is a Spanish thing, okay? The Philippines is probably, don't quote me on this.
I'm not a history person, but the Philippines is probably one of the only colonized places of Spain that does not speak Spanish.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know if
don't.
you guys
Not at
realize
all.
that.
It's only influence,
Yeah.
but not
Spanish influence, okay? We have Spanish days of the week, months
Spanish
of the
last
year.
names.
I don't have a Spanish last
mine.
name. Okay.
There's plenty of them going
The
around.
time, okay, my dad's name was Jose. Okay, straight up, he was
Yes,
Don
yeah,
Pepe. Okay,
Yeah,
and
our names
Spanish
are-
influence, but still keeping the Filipino-ness. You know,
Yes, the native.
if you look at Filipinos, real native Filipinos,
Yes.
like straight up Igorots and stuff, we're not that. That's the amazing thing about Filipinos, though, is that we're a mix of a lot of different things,
yeah.
East and West. We're a mix
All the
of
brown.
all the brown, all Chinese folks,
melting
the
pot.
Polynesian folks.
Everyone looks different.
The Southeast
Yes.
Asian melting pot.
You could be light to the dark, like in
Like straight up light to the dark. Okay, you can have
everything.
kinky, curly, coily hair, or you could have, straight, flat hair. You could have monolid. You could have, big eye, whatever. Filipinos, we can only speak about Filipinos. Filipinos are amazing in that even though people be trying to conquer, okay, you got lapu-lapu out there knocking people out. Y'all better study that if you don't know already. Okay, we got people fighting Magellan. We've got the Americans trying to come in. Okay, there are so many instances where we have been suppressed, oppressed.
Yes.
We have, as a culture, had so many things go wrong, so many things be influenced, but we're still us. And I think that being in America, carrying it to America, we can still be us. That's why we have a separate Filipino culture church, right? Because we're going to do the potluck. People know about us for that hospitality, right? Everywhere you go, people are going to be like, oh, you're Asian, oh, you're Filipino, they can see your last name, okay, you're a Rodriguez, you're a Gonzalez, you're a De La Cruz, which is like the most popular last name, straight up, you're Filipino. And what that means for you guys here in America, and this goes for me too, your parents came here for a reason. They didn't come here to bring the Philippines here. They want you to live your best life here, take hold of every opportunity, get that education, no matter what it is.
Yes.
Amen.
Get that education.
Real.
They want you to climb the ladder,
Climb
and once
the
you're at the
ladder.
top, then tell everyone you're Filipino.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did that.
We did
Yeah,
that.
We did
made
that.
We did that.
We're made in America.
With Filipino parts. That should be the new
That
podcast.
should be the Made in America with Filipino. Yeah, that'll be ours.
Because honestly, and thank you for having me on here, because I was just cruising through, higher ground. Baon To Go is, I'm sorry, it's a ridiculous name because it's redundant.
It is redundant.
It is
We were
redundant,
talking
yeah.
about that the other week.
I
And
don't
it's
feel
crazy
like-
that we're criticizing a podcast that we're on. But Baon is
It's
like
implied.
to go.
with you.
Well, yes, it's implied that it's already to go. But see, that in itself, calling it Baon To Go, that's the fusion of Filipino and American.
American.
That's
Because you
kind of
can't
the
just
point.
call it Baon, but I think you should still clarify.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was kind of the point, because we knew we weren't fully from the Philippines coming to straight up talk about it.
That's
is-
why I like Made in America.
With
Filipino parts.
Okay.
Sound like a little
Now, I think I want that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is on the sweater.
We should get it on a mug, and then we should drink it. The person that made it is no longer existing.
We can make
I'll
our
ask my
own.
mother
We
to
can
put
make
on
our
mug.
own.
Okay,
Yeah,
see,
we'll make
there's
our
an
own.
auntie that can make it. Okay,
Yeah.
there's an auntie for that. That's my answer to everything.
Real.
There's an auntie for
Editor,
that.
put up that design. If you can help us get this on a t-shirt.
Not even so much that it's merch, but and going back
Make
to
the original.
identifying and everything. This is something that my sister and I were just talking about in the car. Do you consider yourself Asian American, Filipino American, Filipino, just American?
That's hard.
I consider myself made in America.
Okay, you're Canadian and American.
I always say I'm Filipino, even though, because it's already too complicated. They already come up to me and they're like, they try guessing. They're like, are you Chinese? Are you Korean? I'm like, know. Like, and when I tell them I'm Filipino, some of them do know, some of them don't know. They're like, is that even Asia? It's like, okay, well.
Yeah, I
So-
say Asian American, and then if they ask what kind of Asian, then it's like Filipino.
I just say Filipino
For
because they
me,
know that it's,
Yeah,
I look different.
always say
Yeah.
Filipino.
I just say
because
my
I
full
mean,
ethnicity, which is
yeah.
half and
Like
half.
it gives them directly.
Yes.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what to expect.
I just say Filipino. I mean, I identify, okay, like, no offense to the American people, but I identify much more with, like, the Filipino side of our culture than I do with America. Because
Same
I've
here.
noticed I'm kind of
I
old-fashioned.
mean, we're on a
when it
podcast called
comes
Baon To Go.
Yeah, that's true as well. I've noticed, you know, maybe it's a consequence of how my parents raised me, but growing up, like, I've looked at a lot of, like, I've compared myself to a lot of the other people that are, like, around my age and people who grew up mostly here. I don't know if it's just a cultural difference within our household, but a lot of the times when I see things happening from outside and I compare it with my own experience, I'm starting to wonder, like, why is everyone so different? Like, I was raised in a pretty traditional Filipino household, so to see things that are so, for me at least, like, out of tune with what our culture teaches us, it really reinforces to me, like, I'm Filipino. Like, I am not American. Because I assimilate with America. Like, obviously, you know, we live here, so we have to abide by, you know, their customs, their rules. But at home and deep down inside my heart, I really feel like I'm Filipino.
Okay. And I love that. Because that's your experience. My sister and I, maybe, I don't know, because we're older, we say, oh, my parents are from
The Philippines.
That's how I identify, because I know that they came here to the States to try and live a better life. They came here and wanted to assimilate. I mean, we had to get cable when we moved down to Florida because my grandma wanted to watch the Chicago Cubs on WGN. Straight up, she was a baseball fan.
No one has cable anymore.
I mean, this was back in
Yeah.
Streaming services
remember,
now.
Yeah.
back in the day when I used to ride a
Roku
dinosaur to
TV.
school. But some of the, like you said, some of the old school traditional Filipino, on the flip side of that, there are some things of our culture that I don't agree with, that I did not take
Appreciate.
into
Yeah.
with raising my kid. And I don't want to perpetuate things like, and you know, I'm sorry, Mom, if you're seeing this or if you're hearing this, but those backhanded compliments, or like when the aunties are like,
Comparing.
I
Comparison.
hate that.
Yeah.
And like, oh, hi, anak, wow, you're so healthy. Like, that's,
Oh, yeah, like they try to shame you by, yeah.
that's what I mean, like backhanded
Like, oh, you're so dark, and I'm like, do you not see? Yeah,
what's that mean? Right.
It's the same case as when like your auntie tells you like, oh, eat more, and then next time you say, oh, you gained weight. Yes, you are the reason I gained weight.
You're
You
so
told me
big
to eat
now.
more.
And talking back to our elders, I mean, I don't want to say talking back, but saying
Responding.
you can never say no to an older person who tells you to do something, right? You're never going to say no. You're going to say, nah, I don't want to do that, auntie. If she asks you to do special music, if she asks you to pray, you're going to say yes.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
yes.
Oh yes.
Oldest child syndrome.
That's added to it, right?
Yeah.
But am I, for example, as an elder person, am I going to take advantage? Like earlier, when we were downstairs, an auntie asked me to pray. I say an auntie. She's another mom. She asked me to pray.
my mother.
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, sorry.
Out of respect.
Yeah.
I mean, that also gets into like how culture changes over time. It's dependent on what we, as the newer generation, decide to carry on.
Yeah.
So I mean, like we were saying, like Mano is gonna carry on, and we're gonna stop with like the backhanded compliments and comparisons.
Yeah.
And then, if enough of us do that, that'll become our culture over time.
It literally took me having an adult conversation with one of my elders and being straight up like, look, it doesn't help me when you say these things, and it hurts my feelings. It hurts that little girl inside of me with the pigtails who just wants to learn English, you know. And I never got an apology.
Yeah.
I don't think at the same time I ever expected one.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, I never knew that you felt that way. Oh, because I felt like I couldn't say anything.
Unfortunately, also, I don't know if it's part of our tradition. I hope not. But it's a theme that I see running with Filipinos, especially like elder Filipinos. They're very bad at like direct confrontation.
Yeah, they'd much rather go
They'd
around.
much rather like tell everyone else besides the person they have a problem
Oh, that's
with.
the worst.
And then that person is like, well, if you had a problem with that,
Why didn't you just
why
say
didn't you
something?
tell
I've been
me?
doing that low key, but I'm stopping.
I'm sure we've all had experiences with it before, but it's like
Especially when
there's
it
no
comes to
reason
chismes.
for that.
Yeah, chismes is...
Chismes is another tradition that
We could have a whole other episode on
That's
chismes.
another
You should not
thing.
have that even in part of the culture.
We shouldn't.
it
but
comes from a Spanish word. Where's my
It's called also chismes. It's the same.
chismosa?
Chismosas.
Chismosas.
Yeah, I was about to say
Chismosas.
chismosa.
Those girls that be like to, gossip and all that. But I
They
think,
talk about me.
I
talk
think
about
that
us.
when you guys are out in the world doing whatever, school or socializing, does it ever cross your mind that, because you hear it in the back of your head, that you are representing your family, you are giving an impression of Filipino American kids out there having a good time, doing whatever? I'm just curious. I want to know. Is that something that you carry with you in the back of your head?
Back of my head. I don't think I'm gonna like go out with my day and everyone's gonna be like, oh, that person's Filipino. They must all be like that.
Is
But
that
it's like
Filipino kid?
it's in the back of your head, like, oh, how I'm behaving is like driven by what I've learned from my culture and like my parents.
Do you nursing students get that stereotype all the time?
Yes,
because we're
of course.
Yeah, they
They,
always
they
say,
always
you
expect.
aim to please.
That's that older sibling
Yeah.
thing.
It is.
You should be hospitable towards all of your patients, even when your patients don't always treat you the best. So, but I mean, piggybacking kind of off what you said about like, do we carry that expectation with us? I would say yes, because I mean, everyone at this table knows me. I think my personality is very like, I'm on and off, but for the most part, I would say like I'm very extrovert, and I present myself in a very like
A certain way.
loud manner. Yeah, like.
Like what you see is what you get.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom, she always reminds me before I leave the house, remember, like, when you're out there, like, people see you. Like, she was like, and whatever you say, whatever you do, it'll always come back to us. So, and I carry that with me. But at the same time, I don't try to let it change too much who I am. Because I understand, we have a reputation to uphold in our family. They look towards us. They look towards me because usually I'm the one who's outside representing. My parents are always very busy. So I have a certain responsibility to, present myself in a way that makes our family seem like presentable to others. Do I always carry that? 98% of the time, I do. But again, it comes down to knowing the balance, because I feel like I've noticed a lot of people are scared to show who they are, especially to Filipino, like our elders, because you're scared of being judged. I think that's something that we all have in common. Like, you're scared to present who you really are because you don't know what the elders are going to say about you.
And I think, at least for me, part of that is driven by the fact that they wouldn't tell you if they have a problem with it. Going back to like direct confrontation, if you present them with something new and they don't necessarily agree with it, they won't tell you right away.
Yeah.
So I feel like that drives some of the fear of coming out to the elder
Great example of this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I can only speak about myself because this is what's been happening. I've been covering my hair when I come to church since February or so, since my mom got back from Jerusalem and Egypt and all that stuff. And
living her best life.
Living her best life. She told me that she had a moment of reconciliation with certain people in her life that were part of my life. Anyway, one of the things that she brought me was a headscarf. So the next time I came to church, I wore it, and I felt very comfortable in it. I felt very confident in it. I have my own personal convictions about why I want to cover my hair and all that. And last Sabbath, when I was here, I was wearing a headscarf again. I think it was pink. And an auntie said to me, you don't have to wear that. And I said, yeah, it's comfortable. It's not part of our culture, is what she said. It's not part of our religion, which I understand. It's comfortable for me. It's my own conviction. But I'm glad at least she said it to my face.
Yeah. Instead of
and she didn't
talking to everyone else.
She didn't talk to everybody else. She didn't talk to my mom. She didn't talk to my son. She didn't talk to anybody. which I can appreciate.
Yeah.
And maybe
Nah, if you diss my mom to me, we got beef.
Real. Say something about
I don't
that.
care who you are.
we got veggie.
We got like
No,
like
he has real
like
beef.
USDA, like USDA prime, like A5
Yeah.
ground beef.
Is there something that happened that I need to know about? Because
No,
at the okay.
and there won't be.
That's not a threat.
No, that's not a threat.
That's
But
not
don't
a threat.
don't tell me about problems you have with my mom if you do.
Well, don't worry. Nobody's got problems with me.
course
Because
not.
straight up, I will come after you.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't have any qualms about it now because coming into this conversation, you guys know that I'm divorced, I'm remarried, I'm in an interracial relationship, marriage situation. I don't want to talk too much about the past because everybody knows who Dami's family is. I'll say it like that. But I don't have any fear of being further judged because I would rather somebody come up to me. There was an auntie who asked me, like, what's going on with you? I heard you're getting divorced. I heard this and that and all these other things. And at least she came to my face.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, too. I was like, at least that auntie came to my face. And I have to hear all these other whisperings about people talking about me again.
Yeah.
Because, again, going back, I was a teenager being pregnant with him. So it's not my first rodeo. Maybe I'm not the perfect example of an older sibling. Whatever. And me getting tattoos and me getting my ear pierced, it's for medical reasons. And people be judging all the time, silently or out loud. At least if you're going to judge me out loud, aunties and uncles and so on, they can come to my face and say something.
Yeah.
Am I going to present myself appropriately because I represent my family? Yes. Am I going to present myself appropriately because I represent, most importantly, a child of God? Okay. That's really who we're trying to impress here. Not so much our parents, but the way that we physically present ourselves. Is this something that's pleasing to God? This is something that is good for us, that is for ourselves. If we dress modestly, if we wear makeup, which is like another thing, which y'all don't be fooled. My mom already got her makeup tattoos, and this was like a long time ago, and I thought she was crazy, but she looked good.
Lola
And
popping off.
Lola is popping off. She's too much. But what I would say to you guys is to not be afraid to challenge in a respectful way. If there's an obstacle, if somebody's talking about you, if it's an adult.
I think out of everyone, the people at this table are most well equipped for that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was about to say.
Because I think we've all had a situation like that before, or something similar at
Or
least.
close to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something close to it. So I think in terms of like confronting that, I don't think anyone at this table has a problem.
But again, within Filipino culture, you guys are still the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you're always going to be the kids.
Yeah.
Until they say...
35-year-old kids. Yeah.
No, that's what
No,
I'm
it's true
saying.
though, yeah.
Y'all think of the kids as like, Jenna's age or Braden or Bryce or, those little kids. But again, that's the mentality. Your younger siblings are always going to be the kids. People in my generation are always going to be the aunties because I'm old enough to be your mom. Maybe not you. Maybe not you. You know what I mean? People older than me, I'm in a limbo and everything because do I call your mom auntie or ate? I'll make her feel younger
Yeah.
by calling her ate. But don't be afraid to come to an elder person, adult, and come with respect. And you can tell them, hey, I don't appreciate that. Can you not? Do you have a problem with me? Is there something? And if you do have a problem, something that I've done before is honestly talk to the pastor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I'll go
Yeah. That's
shout out to
true.
Pastor Dan.
Yeah. I will say this. You were saying earlier, like you've had an honest talk with some elders in your life. I'll be honest, and my mom knows because she was the one I talked to. I've had the same conversation with my mother before. Because like you were saying, I am also one of those people who don't appreciate the comparisons. I don't appreciate.
That doesn't build me up in any way.
Yeah, like they think like they always quoted it as it's motivating you to do better.
It's supposed to inspire you.
Yeah.
No, it
it does not.
It does not help for me like to hear about what my peers are doing and my mom telling me how come you haven't finished yet? How come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that?
That specifically.
And I always, my mom hates it because she's also very religious, but I always quote back, to the Bible. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, like, everything happens in its own time. And for us to, try to think to ourselves, why are you comparing yourself to this person? Why are you comparing yourself to that person? Instead of focusing on the path that you're supposed to walk, the one that God set for you,
Yeah.
what good does it do as a parent to make your child feel as if they're falling behind? You know, and it was a hard conversation because, like you said, you know, I didn't get an apology.
It's almost like breaking tradition.
Yeah, you are breaking
It
tradition.
feels like
Yeah.
it.
Feels like.
You don't get an apology.
Because you have all the weight of like everyone that's done it before them also.
Yeah.
It feels like you're going against them.
My mom was just telling me, I mean, she's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but, and then, you know, there's always the but.
But means forget everything I just said and listen to what I'm saying now.
Yeah, and the but was, you know, again, it's the cliche, like, oh, we were just trying to,
Yeah.
inspire you, like, we want you to do better. But there's ways to make us, you know, motivated without having to tear us down, without having to compare us to other people. Because I think as a child, that can be one of the most damaging things that you can hear, is that you're not as good as this person, you're not as good as that person. And like you said about breaking stereotypes, I think when I become a parent, that's going to be one of the stereotypes that I want to break. Because I don't want to ever make my child feel inadequate. I don't want to make them feel as if, you know, they're not doing good enough compared to their peers. And
Especially when the comparison comes from comparing to siblings, it digs a little bit
it takes
deeper.
a toll on the siblings too.
Yeah, like
It's also like good enough for who?
Yeah.
I'm not living my life for you.
Who am I
I'm not
trying to
living my life for
please?
anyone else. Like, what standard are we living up to?
Go, Deana.
oh, okay. Like I always feel like my siblings. Okay, well they're over there, but anyways, but my siblings, I feel like they usually like I feel like they did resent me because I was model child.
That's
And then they're like, I feel like I couldn't find a balance between being an older sibling. Like right now I'm trying to be more of a sibling to my siblings rather than a like parent to them, because like I want to like nag them and tell them, but like I know I can't because they have to figure out themselves now. But they did resent me for a while, and like they didn't like. They're closer to each other than they were to me, and that takes a toll. Like comparing to like your child to your other child, it doesn't make them bond as they should. Like they'll just feel resentment, like as if like they'll never achieve that, or like it's like an impossible standard.
Yeah.
It's like you're depriving your child of like being their own person by comparing them to another person.
That's a psychological thing too, I feel like, because as a younger sibling, I mean, I can't speak because I'm the oldest, but I've noticed the younger siblings will always tend to compare themselves to whoever's above them. And in a way, it almost feels like a competition. Like you, as the younger sibling, you always feel as if you have to outdo what your older sibling's doing because your parents, you know, look towards the older sibling as the example. So I can't speak for my brother, but I don't know, like, if he's ever had like an inferiority complex. I truly believe, like, Dave, like, I'm serious when I say this. I really think, like, my brother is much smarter than me. Like, he's much more equipped to handle things than I. Yeah, see, there he is. Yeah, see.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he's smiling already. Yeah. No, I really believe it. Like, and that's why I get so upset at my parents when they try to use me as the example that Dave should try to follow. Because I don't think it does him any good to, you know, be compared to me. Oh, each of us are our own individual person. And for him to have the added pressure of trying to do everything that I had to do, I don't think it will push him to be better in life. Because his path is his own, and comparing himself to me won't take him anywhere. I know you have something to say about this, Terilyn.
I have a lot actually relating to both of you two. Well, as I said, mentioned, I'm the oldest of three, so four technically.
Forgot one.
Yeah, you forgot yourself, by the way.
Yeah, myself. I didn't count myself, but anyways, I would say my sisters and I are a huge gap from each other. So from me to the second is 2 years apart. From that second to the third is another 2 years. From the third to the fourth child is 4 years. So from me to the youngest is actually 8 years apart.
Yeah.
So it is a huge generation difference between me and my sisters. And I mean, if you've seen us in a lot of
You
our
guys are all
YouTube,
very different.
we are very different in our own way. You can
Very
tell.
different.
If we probably stand next to each other, you probably won't tell. But if we talk and if you interact with us, you can definitely tell who's who. But anyways, with the comparison, to me, you guys already know I'm the oldest, but my parents always told me to be the example because my sisters, when they were younger, they had no one else to look up to but me. So, and besides, Jordy as the second child, they really put me more because I'm the first child. And I hated it because I don't know about you guys, the ones with siblings. Like, I don't know if your siblings copied you, like exactly how
Look
you
at my
guys.
brother and tell me that he. Dude, come on, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, like it's annoying. I'm not sure it was. So
Like they want to follow
they
you.
want to follow you
hang out with you and
everywhere.
your
They want to hang
friends.
out with you. They want to do everything. And at that time, I hated it because I was just like, I want to be my own thing. Sorry, I really envied the ones that had no
siblings?
because I was like, man, I wish I didn't have so much responsibilities. No offense, but growing up, it did change my character and the comparison with my parents. We did get a lot of comparisons between me and my siblings. I don't think it was right because I do agree with everyone else that like it doesn't build us up. I know it's the same story. Like, oh, even when they add their own stories, like they're like, I climbed the mountain to go to school and all that. I'm like,
They try to shame you.
they try to
into
shame us,
thinking,
and it's like I don't. I mean, I live here. I don't know. I can't experience the same things as you guys do, and I can't be them. So sometimes it does like suppresses my feelings and how like I should become because I'm just trying to, please them and because they already came here to America to sacrifice for everything. So might as well why not do the same? But with that being said, with my siblings and I, for the longest time, it did seem like a competition. I do still feel like it kind of is. I mean, we did talk about it. We did had a big conversation between me and my siblings. Sorry, Mom and Dad, we didn't include you in this one, but I felt like it was more important since we live in the same house, we have the same parents, so it's like each of us have our own expectations of each other and opinions of each other based on how our parents told us, to be. So, and we all agreed that we're all different and we can't really compare ourselves to anyone
each other,
else
yeah.
because. Like me and Jenna, come on. I mean, we are very different. And with me and Journey, we're also different. And Taylor, we're different. We're all different
Each
and
of you
unique.
are
unique.
people.
It's
Your
not.
own.
It does. And I'm trying to say this right now. Being the oldest doesn't mean you are the better person.
Absolutely not. He's better than me.
of anyone. You're really not. It's just because of the pressure your parents put you, it seemed like you had to push more.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not because at the end of the day, you're still gonna be family. Like you all will grow up to each other. And like, as we grow older, become adults, like you guys are gonna look back at this and be like probably laughing at it because
I laugh now. Teri. I was like,
well, there you go. So it's just a learning experience and like, it does have to be confronted because we don't know. Because for the longest time for me and my sisters, I personally didn't know how they truly felt because until, they were all at me because they got mad because I was like bossy. Yes, of course. So, and I tried to explain to them like, I'm not trying to be bossy. Like,
That's
because
just how you were
it's just
raised.
how I was raised because, my mom and dad had an expectation of me to take care of you when they're away. So, and then, they understood that. So it just really had to be like a talk with like my siblings to understand where we come from and that we're all the same. We're not above.
Yeah.
Just because I'm first born doesn't mean I'm first in everything.
yeah.
So,
No, 100%. I'll say one more thing about this. For like kind of what Dana said, I feel like as a younger sibling, it really does build resentment. And our parents don't do much to help with that. Because the comparison makes the younger siblings feel as if they're inferior. The responsibility that's thrust onto the older sibling is, I'm sorry to any younger siblings, but it's something that the younger ones will never understand. Because from a young age, we're taught to, be the example. Even when we're not ready. Like, guys, I told you earlier, I was 9 years old. I was not ready to be the example for my brother. He was like, he was 3 years old when they started leaving him alone with me. And I was still a child. I didn't even know who I was yet. So how could I expect to be an example for someone who's 6 years younger than me? But I feel like as you grow older, that's something that has to be changed. Because you don't want that resentment to carry over into your adulthood. And that's why I did not know about the conversation that you had with your sisters, but I feel like that's something that, obviously it's different for you guys because you have more siblings. But for me and my brother at least, I've always stressed to him, like, we're not fighting. There's no there's no like one's better than the other. We're equal in this relationship. You know, we're both our parents' children. There is no I'm better than you, you're better than me. There's nothing like that because each of us have our own strengths and weaknesses. And instead of focusing on what your siblings have and you don't, it should be focusing on what you guys can do to uplift each other. Because I thought of it like this, you know, when parents have kids, they're dividing themselves up between you guys. So once you combine all those siblings together, you get 100%. My brother is the half of me that I feel like I am missing. Like I lack a lot of the qualities that David has, and vice versa, you know, he is not as outgoing as me, not as extroverted, but in its own way that's very admirable. So I think we balance each other out very well. And even for you guys, you know, you have 2 siblings, you have 3. It, as much as like we don't think of it the way that we do, you know, we all come together to form, like what you said, a family. Because at the end of the day, we're never going to stop being siblings. You know, we are all our own people. But just knowing that, you know, there's... Oh, no. There's like... It's very... Sibling bonds are very important. And even though we choose to, you know, fight sometimes, I think at the end of the day, we also matter very much to each other. And it's something that we shouldn't give up.
Amen. All right.
Time
should
is
we move
running
topics or should we wrap up?
Well, the thing is, I do
Should we have a part 2?
Well, we'll talk about it, but this is definitely what I
Bruh,
do.
no. Sorry. I know what they want to talk about. We're not doing this,
No,
guys.
we're not gonna do it all because
Next
it's already
episode.
30 minutes.
Okay.
But
Catch us next episode.
There is one thing I do want to talk about and stress about. At the end of our episodes, we do have a verse of the day. Sorry, Isa, we don't have to ask you, but there is a verse that we do want to express, which is Proverbs 22, verse 6. If you guys had your...
I know that one.
Okay, dude.
That one recited.
Yeah, I have had to memorize that verse.
Probably you and I have probably pulled out that verse and said, "See this, parents?
Yeah, I was
You
like,
see this?"
So if you guys want to look it up,
So like parents do not provoke your children.
no.
It's ingrained in my. It's ingrained in my heart.
No,
It's
so
something that I use
Proverbs-
as an educator all the time.
Okay, so Proverbs 22nd, verse 6, it says, "Train up a child in a way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And I know that we talked about family a lot in this, especially with our culture and of course with like Mother's Day. So just about that verse alone, like, what do you guys take from it? Obviously, you guys said you're not going to do some traditions to your children as you've learned here, but is there something else that you want to inquire?
as much as like, you know, I mean, we talked about like what we don't like, but I only mention that because there's so much that I take from my parents that I really do admire. And I think, I mean, like, not to toot my own horn, but I think my parents did a pretty good job with raising me. Like, I take their example very well. My parents each have their own strengths and weaknesses that, you know, I try to emulate in my own life. My dad is much more stoic than my mother. He's very, but they balance each other out, again, yeah. And my dad is very keen to help. I've noticed, like, my dad, you don't even have to say anything to him, but if he sees that something needs to be done, my dad will go do it, like, no questions asked. Yeah, he won't say anything. Like, my mom gets mad at him sometimes. She's like, why are you doing all that work? Like, no one asked you, but he doesn't care because he does it anyway. And I think, yeah, I think that's very admirable. And I think just from seeing, you know, they always say lead by example. And parents, in my opinion, are the number one example of that, you know. Like we were saying, you know, our younger siblings try to emulate us, but who do we have to emulate? We have our parents. The first people that I ever learned from in my entire life before I went to school, before I met all of the people that, you know, would later become my friends, the only people that I had at home were my parents. So, you know, seeing them every day, you know, being around them, that taught me a lot about what I value. And it comes down to, I mean, we know we shape our values based on things that we see around us in the world. But learning starts at home, always. And if our parents are the people that we see every day, then it would, you know, come to follow that we start to take on their traits as well. And like we said, you know, not everything that my parents have done I want to carry over. But for the most part, I agree with a lot of what they've taught me. And it's not something that I think I should ever abandon, whether it be our culture, whether it be, you know, our focus on academics, for better or worse. Yeah, just finish something. That's all I'll say to my future children. Please just pick something and finish, because it becomes very difficult when you don't have a job in the future. But yeah, I would say that verse to me, my parents instilled that into me when I was a child as well. They made me memorize that. That was the verse that we would always say to each other during family worship. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It's something that I think every parent wants for their child. I'm not a parent, but I think most parents would agree that, the teachings that they want at home are the things that their kids should take with them into their adulthood. So, yeah.
I think all of us are pretty good examples of that as college students, starting to figure out what we want for the rest of our lives and figuring out who we are. I can only we've talked plenty about sibling dynamics and how that works with your parents. I can only speak as an only child because that's how I was raised. An only child between two homes. I think it's important to teach. Obviously I'm not a parent, I can't tell parents what to do, but clearly the time you have with your parents it shapes who you are, and you carry it with you everywhere, even if you don't realize it. We were talking earlier about comparing younger siblings to older siblings, or older siblings to cousins and stuff. It doesn't work. For me in particular, it's a little different because I see it not as competition, but for lack of a better word, competition. Because it's I want to strive to do better than them. Not because I don't like them, but because it would help me develop myself.
So that's your motive.
And that's the way that I was raised. If you know my dad, you'll know that that's very clearly something he values, and that's been instilled in me. So that's kind of my approach to everything. Not everything, but that's my approach to life. Is if it makes you better, and if it helps motivate you, then that's the way you should approach it. And I feel that's something that's going to stick with me, because in my head I can't find anything else that works better than that to motivate me to get work done. So, yeah.
Anyone else wants to add?
I was gonna wait because I'm the only parent.
Okay, well, everyone else that wants to go.
Dana's in the middle of something.
I don't know. Everything what y'all said, I agree with.
Oh, she's chewing.
I'm trying. Yeah, I don't think parents realize that their support and their influence on things matters a lot, because there's a lot of things that we see from them. We expect when we're young, we're oh yeah, they do everything right. My life is in their hands. I trust them, and that's a thing you should build when you're young, to trust them. But then when you get older, you realize, some of the things they do is not the greatest thing that they can do, and maybe you can bring it up to them if you really are brave to do that. But they don't realize a lot of what they do transfers over to us. Even little anger issues.
Their quirks,
Definitely.
But on the positive side of that, I always thought, my dad's just angry all the time. But I don't see when I'm young, but when I'm older, I appreciate he may be mad that we didn't do something in the house, but he does it for us either way. Acts a service guy.
Yeah.
And that carries over to my brother. My brother does that now. He carries a lot after my dad in that manner, where he doesn't like doing the things that we tell him to, but he still cares about our well-being first and foremost. I'm sick. I asked him to get me something. I'm you don't have to. He's no, I'm gonna do it. You can't tell me no. I'm so yeah, what our parents do and how they treat each other, especially, and how they treat other people, carries over to how we treat other people as well, in our relationships.
Really?
I like that.
Well, you guys already said it all. Yes, parents are a huge influence, since, we are the product of our parents in a way. But I feel
Yes. We are the product, Teri.
Every definition of
right. So we are somehow connected in that way. But yes, through the influence, I feel all the teachings and everything, training up doesn't mean that there's one way of parenting. I feel there's multiple ways, depending on how everyone deals with it, because everyone takes learning differently. How there's so many different learning and teaching techniques, right? So it shouldn't just be black and white, where it's how come you're not doing this with your child? Everyone has their own thing, and the lessons that we learn from our parents will continue to carry forth, especially with our religion in our way, right? Most of us grew up in a Christian home, so based on what we're taught at home, we will eventually carry it to everywhere else. Even though the world may be different and everyone, is taught differently, we're able to still hold our morals and what's right because of what our parents have taught us. So,
Madre?
So this goes, but kind of piggybacking on what Teri just said. I mean, look at where you are. Look at the room. The people that are here. You guys are adults. You're here because you want to be here. I think it says a lot about.
Almost. Later this year.
It says a lot about your parents. It says a lot about you that you choose to come to church. You choose to participate in church. One of the biggest milestones of having children is dedicating them in the church. So this is a Sevi tradition, because I know in other religions they do different things with children. But it is our belief that presenting a child to the church and having that dedication ceremony means that you're taking on the responsibility as a parent. You're taking not just that verse, but you're taking the word of the Lord into consideration when you're raising your child. One of the biggest parts of that verse, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, is train up a child in the way he should go. Right. In the way he should go. That's the part that stuck with me probably the most, because it's not the way that Lola wants to go. It's not the way that Mom wants to go. Every child is going to have their own path. They have to have their own path. They're not going to take the path that you want them to go on necessarily.
I've noticed.
And that, again, builds more resentment. If you're forcing your child to go a certain way, you're making them go left when their heart tells them to go right. That's a whole nother thing about following your heart. I don't believe in that, but that could be another topic. Let's
train them up in the way they should go, not hold their hand in the way they should go.
And I think that it's so poignant that my child says that, because I would like to think, also because he's an only child, I would like to think that my parenting is reflected in my child and the things that he has chosen to do and the things that he chooses that are important to him, the things that he values. I think it speaks for itself. People ask me all the time, not all the time, not so much now, but when you were younger, people would ask me, like, what did you do? What's your secret? What's your trick to make your child so obedient, so polite? And he's just so XYZ, whatever the case may be. Wonderful. I will tell you, I was a young mom. I didn't know what I was doing, okay? I had no idea. And his dad and I just kind of went with what we knew. We both grew up in houses with 3 generations. We did that with Damie. He was raised in a house with 3 generations for a good portion of his childhood. I think as an adult, as a parent, you take that section of the verse that says, train up a child in the way that he should go. You can't dictate whichever way that is. If you look in the Bible, there's so many instances of people going all kinds of directions and following what God is telling them to do. Not necessarily what the parents want them to do. For example, like David, he was just supposed to go and drop off some food for his brothers, but he straight up like was like, no, I'm going to check out this Goliath guy and see what he's about. Okay, did his dad want that for him? No, he was the baby. Wasn't he the baby? Like,
yes, he was.
Honestly.
Yes, he was.
Okay, and Moses, straight up, Miriam, watch your little brother in the river. Whatever. She's like, why am I going to do this? He's going to die anyway. Those are just, 2 very brief examples, but everybody has a path. Children have a path that they need to go through. It's not easy as a parent to see your child fail or not be successful at something that you know that they can do. But they have to go through it. They have to experience success. They have to experience failure.
I will say, Madre,
Oh,
saying like, you were saying people ask you like, what do you do? Like, why does your child behave the way he does? Like, in a good way, I hope. But
It is.
I will say one of the things that I think I'm most grateful for is letting me fail, because you and Dad let me like do things on my own, even if I had no idea, even if I didn't know like what I wanted the end result to be. And if I failed, I failed. But I had to learn what failure was and how to handle it. And I think that's one of the best character building things.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has to experience it at some point, and if you experience it way later in life and you don't know how to handle it, you'll shut down. Yeah.
You get that failed perfectionist. But the last thing I want to say is just a little thing that I saw that I'm probably going to keep on my quote list for a long time. It's on you to get you where you want to be. Okay, I was listening to the song in the car. If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. Okay, so that goes for your parents, for your professors, for your teachers, for your friends, okay, most especially for your parents, for your aunties, for those nagging aunties, for those uncles that, you know, make fun of you in their own little way. You got to take all of those things along with you, not make it baggage, you know, but take all those things into consideration, be proud of the journey that you're on, and make it your own. That's the motherly advice, I guess.
All right.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Anyone else you want to add on?
I think we should wrap up soon.
Yes, it is.
We're running really tight on time.
I know. So thank you everyone who are here. Yay!
Yay, go us.
So, more of the story, love your moms.
Shout out to all the moms.
Mother's Day. I miss my mom.
There it is.
There it is.
I got my daily one in. Gotta do another one later tonight.
Alright, see you guys in the next episode. Follow us on Off the Higher Ground on our YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook.
Hit the subscription button. Hit the bell for notifications.
Streamers.
Buy our merch that says "Made in America" with Filipino parts.
Photo will be
Good photo. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.